In this presentation, we will create a vertical analysis profit and loss report from a profit and loss standard report. We will be doing this in QuickBooks Pro 2020, QuickBooks Desktop 2020. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars file. We currently have the open windows open. You can open the open windows by selecting the view dropdown and the open windows list. We're now going to be creating our profit and loss standard report by selecting the reports dropdown up top, going to the company and financial, and then the profit and loss standard report. Within the profit and loss standard, we're going to be changing the dates from 01/01/20 to 12/31/20. That's January through December 2020. This is our starting point. Our major goal here is to make a vertical analysis, adding another column, which will in essence be comparing every line item to the income line. The reason you would want to do this is because the income you can think of as basically the goal of the organization, the goal or the main number on the profit and loss report. That's what the company's trying to do, generate revenue. All other things, including expenses, are there in order to help us to generate revenue. So therefore, it can be useful for us to think of all other items as they are related to the income item or the revenue item. This is also something that will be very useful to us if we want to benchmark or compare to other types of companies that may have different dollar amounts. In other words, they might be a much larger company that we want to benchmark to. We can't do so with the numbers in straight dollar amounts because they won't be something that is comparable to us, that we won't be able to draw information from that. However, we may be able to use this percentage kind of format in order for us to draw information, help us to benchmark to other types of organizations. To do so, we're going to go to the Customize items up top. We're going to be down here in the percentage of income. That's the one we want. We want to select the percentage of income. Then I'm going to select OK. And then we have our percentage of income items. What does this look like? It's a little bit different than some of the other percentages we have seen so far. So let's consider it. All the top items here are part of income. So you'll note, obviously, if we take the percentages, it'll add up to the total. In other words, if I took the merchandise sales of the 4979.4 divided by the total income of 19275.4, move the decimal over 2 places, we have 25.8% rounded, 25.8%. So these then are all the income types. If you add up the income accounts, they add up to 100%. The cost of goods sold then is an expense type of account. If we compare it then to income, if we take this cost of goods sold and say 3950 divided by 19275.4, we're going to get if you move the decimal over 2 places, 20.5%. So cost of goods sold is 20.5% of the total income. And usually that's going to be a really important relationship. It's a little bit skewed here because note that we have more than just merchandise sales. We have other sales here, and the cost of goods sold is not going to have the same relationship to service items as the inventory items. Then we could do this with any of the expense accounts down below. If we were to take, for example, obviously payroll is quite large expense account, 11562.48 over the revenue of the 19275.4. We could say, wow, that's going to be, if I move the decimal point, around 60% of the income. And you can see that relationship on a percentage basis. And again, you can think of that, well, what if I looked at another company that also sells guitars and has service and they might be larger than us? We can't compare our revenue item to them, but is their revenue item 60%, or is their payroll 60% of their revenue? Is their cost of goods sold only 20% of their total revenue? We can do comparisons like that and help us to benchmark. And so it's a really useful tool to have. Now we're going to make some other changes here. Let's change some formatting. We're going to get rid of these items. We're going to rename it to a vertical analysis profit and loss report. So we're going to go up top, customize report, headers and footers. We have the profit and loss. We're now going to call this a vertical. So let's say vertical analysis. Hopefully I spelled that right. Vertical analysis profit and loss report. We're going to keep the date. That looks good. The subtitle. We're then going to remove the date prepared, time prepared, and report basis. That will remove these 3 items. Let's see what that looks like so far. We say OK. So we have removed these. We've renamed the title. Now let's go back and put our footer in place, the extra footer. I'm going to go to Customize Reports, Header and Footer tab, and the extra footer, we're going to say this is the Smith CPA, and we're going to say OK. Let's check that out by going to the print item here, report. We're going to preview, take a look at it. Then if we go down here, we see that our title there, so that looks good. We have the footer in place. Going to close this back out, close this back out. Let's do some formatting. Let's remove the pennies on this report, get rid of the change, and then let's make the negative numbers with the brackets once again. So we're going to go up top to the reports. We're going to go to the fonts and numbers. I'm going to make the negatives with the parentheses. We're going to make them red. I'm going to use remove the pennies by removing the pennies here and say OK. Let's see what that looks like. Looks a little bit cleaner so that we can see that now. And now we want to, I'm going to put the highest amounts up top within the categories. We could do that here. We did that last time. Let's now do that over here in the customized reports. We can do that in the default. We want to go to the totals, and then I want to put it in descending order. Totals and then descending order. Then I'm going to say OK, and there we have it. So now we've got the higher numbers up top, and then it goes down to the lower numbers. So that's what we have so far. Looks pretty good, looks pretty nice. Let's go ahead and memorize this report. So I'm going to go to the memorize report up top. We're going to change then, the name actually looks good. The vertical analysis profit and loss, that's what we want. Going to put it into the save in memorize report group, the group that we had set up in a previous presentation. Selecting the dropdown, we called it My Reports because they're the reports that we made. So they're like My Reports. And then we're going to say OK. And it takes a little picture. And then we're going to close this out and we're going to reopen the reports from the memorized report of My Reports. So we're going to close this back out. We're going to go back to the reports dropdown up top. We're going to go then into the memorized reports and then down to the My Reports. And now we want the vertical analysis profit and loss report. There it is. Looks great. Now we're going to go ahead and save this in a couple different ways. We'll save it as a PDF file. We'll then export it to our existing Excel worksheet. And then we will save all of the reports we have done so far in one PDF file using that Excel worksheet. Let's do that now. We're going to go to the reports up top. I'm going to use the Qt PDF printer this time by going to the save as a... Actually, let's do that again. By going to report, print report. Then we're printing to the Qt PDF printer. Then I'm going to say print, and we'll get the dialog box of where we want to put it. We're in section 1 through 4. I'm going to go into the financial statement reports. I'm going to then put my box here, the little box right under the title so I can see the title, and then type in the title, which is going to be the vertical analysis P and L 2020, and I'll save that. Now we're going to export it to Excel, the existing workbook that we have been working on throughout this problem. We're going to create a new worksheet within it. Then we're going to put it to an existing workbook. If you don't have the workbook, you can then create a new one here, but we're going to put it to the existing workbook. We're going to then browse to find where that workbook might be. Then we see here, we're right where we want to be, section 1 through 4. There's our workbook. Double clicking on that, then exporting to it. Here is our Excel sheet. We're going to do our normal kind of cleanup job here. I'm going to go all the way to the left where we have this new tab that was created. I'm going to select that tab that was created, right click on that tab that was created, and delete it. I'm going to delete that tab and say delete. Then I'm going to go back to the worksheet. So we're back on the worksheet. I would like to pull this to the right. I want to put this all the way to the right. So I'm going to left click on that worksheet. I'm going to pull it to the right. There it is. And now we're going to do some formatting here. To do that, I'm going to go to the page layout. So we're going to go into the page layout, say OK. We then locate that we have these splits here. I'd like to remove the splits. Therefore, I'm going to go to the View tab up top. We're going to go to the Windows group, and then I'm going to remove the splits. And now they are gone. Then I'm going to rename down here. So I'm going to double click on the name. I'm going to call it a Vert Analysis P and L. There we have it. Click back off of it. I'm going to go back to the normal view then. We're back on the normal view. And then I'm going to save it. We're going to save all of these into one PDF file, or print all of them to one PDF file now that we could then send out all the reports we've made thus far. So we're going to go up top to the File tab. we're going to go to the printing options. I'm going to print it to the Qt PDF printer. I want to print the entire workbook, of which there are now 8 pages. If we scroll through those pages just to review them, make sure everything looks okay, everything looks proper, and as I expected, it does look perfect. So we're going to go ahead and print it now. So we'll print it to the Qt PDF printer by selecting the print item. We'll then get the printing dialog box to say, hey, where do you want to put this thing? And we're going to put it into our folder that we've been working on, section 1 through 4. That's where we want it. We're going to be putting it into the Financial Reports 2020. That's the one, and save. So we'll save that. I'm going to write over that file when we do save it. Let's open it up, see what it looks like. So if we take this file and open it up, we're going to say that we now are in section 1 through 4. And we have the couple formats. Now I'm going to delete this one because we've changed it, the zipped file now, and it's this copy of this folder. Deleting that, how could we give this information to somebody at this point? We could give them an attachment of all these files, which there's a lot now. I'm not even going to count them. It's too much for me to count. We're going to go back over here. We could zip that file and attach just one zipped file by right-clicking this file and going to a compressed or zipped file, attaching just simply that one file. A little bit easier, a little bit nicer. Or we can attach the Excel file if someone is okay with an Excel file, or we could have used that Excel file to make one PDF file and then attach the one PDF file. If we were to open that up, this is what that would look like, where we now have the balance sheet. We now have the profit and loss report. We then have the comparative balance sheet. We then have the end of the comparative balance sheet, and then the summary balance sheet, and then the income statement, and then the comparative profit and loss, and then the vertical analysis report. We can give them all on that in one format using basically the Excel and the PDF printer.